We will now open up with a statement from Coach Shaw.
Morning, everyone. Finally got my throwback polo back from the cleaners, so try to wear that today. It's good mojo with it. Injury updates. Josh Carty is probable, which is great to have him back. Questionable guys that we'll see the next couple days. Noah Williams, Bryce Farrell looks like he's on the upswing, as well as Zarin Manley. Both those guys got into some practice last night, and in limited fashion will practice again today. Very hopeful. Those two will go from questionable to probable to playing in the game. Out this week will be Jay Simmons, Tucker Fisk, and John Humphreys. EJ Smith and Michael Wilson are both progressing. Still probably not on the docket for this week, but we're crossing our fingers for both those guys for Washington after the bye. Very briefly on the Arizona State game, pretty much what we talked about right after the game. We made a lot of plays in all three phases, but our mistakes combined with the playmaking at Arizona State was the difference. We were not opportunistic on the offensive side, made a lot of plays, but as we crossed the 50, has been told to me many times, crossed the 50 a whole bunch, didn't score any points. We showed a lack of consistency that Arizona State did not. Penalties and negative plays kill drives, and those things were killed. We had an opportunity in the 2-minute drill at the end of the half to at least get a field goal. As my mother says, it's the game with the ball that bounces funny, bounce off our hands, bounce off the corner's hands into the safety's hands. Cost us at least 3 points. If not, we're definitely going to take a shot at the end zone before kicking a field goal, if not 7. And they come back around and they busted a coverage and left our tight end open. But we threw the ball to the other side. And once again, unbelievable play by Jack Jones. He's a heck of a football player. And so we got a huge swing from the end of the first half to the beginning of the second half, where we could have gotten 3 or 7, got 0, and then had an opportunity to get a big play, but instead pick 6. That and the consistency at Arizona State, a lot of credit goes to Coach Herm Edwards and his staff. Had those guys prepared. Those guys played well. They played hard, and didn't make a lot of mistakes. Sometimes our guys beat their guys, but they didn't make a lot of mistakes. And our mistakes really hurt us, losing a couple edges in the running game, giving up a couple explosive plays. Explosive play by the quarterback. Hey, that guy's talented. That's just going to happen. 2 guys miss him. But I don't believe we were outmatched. We were outplayed. So challenges for us, sitting here at 3-3 after 6 games, is to really get into that October groove and start playing our best football. We've played a lot of really good football, but not our best as of yet. Especially the slate that we've had ahead of us that's now behind us. I don't know if anybody in America has played what we've played. 5 out of our 6 games, we played teams that were at some point ranked in the top 25. I don't know if anybody else has had that. Not all Division I opponents, but 5 out of 6 at some point were ranked in the top 25, which means they're pretty doggone good. We'd love to come out of this with a better record. We came out of 3-3. Now we've got a heck of a game right ahead of us against another 3-3 opponent on their turf. Coach Rolovich, the team is starting to look like, the team that he wants to have. Playmaking on the offensive side, they're pretty balanced, running the football first and second down. Defensively, attacking style of defense. They play a bunch of different coverages. They give you a bunch of different looks. There's a lot of movement on the defensive front that causes a lot of issues. So big challenge for us on the road up in Palouse. Last statement I'll make, just to address the Jon Gruden situation. I'm not going to take any questions about it. Yes, John and I are very friends. John is probably more responsible than anybody outside of my parents. for me being where I am right now in my career. I'm so grateful to him for his help, his advisement throughout the years, both when I worked for him and since then. Don't condone anything negative in any of those emails. I feel awful for those people that were, verbally mentioned or involved in those emails. Don't condone any of that. It's a terrible situation for everyone, right? As a coach's kid, I can't help but not just think about John and his family, but all the families of all the coaches and players that are now going to have to deal with this on a daily basis for the rest of the season. They've got a great team and great players, and I know a lot of guys from that staff, and they're going to have to regroup and hopefully they can do that and get back on track. I know it's going to be really, really difficult, but at the same time, it's a tough situation for everybody. And I'm only bringing it up just because of my relationship with John. I mention John all the time, and I feel bad for everybody involved. So with that, open up for questions.
If you would like to ask a question, please use the raise hand function. We will start off with Troy Clarity.
Hey, Coach. When EJ Smith was on the field earlier in the season, it seemed like he was kind of filling a bit of a role, and a role that maybe potentially we haven't seen since his injury. What are some of the facets that this offense may not quite be having at its disposal right now without EJ Smith out there on the field?
It's tough to answer because we have a variety of people that have skills, and some of those things we did with EJ as a receiver. Casey Filkins just did in this past game, caught a couple balls, did a nice job. Some of those routes Elijah ran for us as well. So that's not saying that we haven't missed EJ. I think we really have. I think EJ was really kind of coming into his own, and was probably going to have a bigger bite of our apple. And hopefully when he comes back, that continues, because we think that his skill set is very, very impressive. So we'll continue on. I know Casey Filkins came back last week in a bigger role, had another 15-yard punt return. He's got a chance to be special back there as a returner, but also will have a bigger piece of our offense as well, much like he did last week. Got some in the backfield, got some runs, did a great job of pass protection. Also came out and did some pass receiving for us as well. So hopefully by the time we get to Washington, we'll have both those two guys back. Those two guys have really, really high ceilings and have a chance to be special. So we'll continue to expand both those guys' roles. They're still sophomores. They're still young, but their roles are continuing to expand.
Next, we'll go to Dave Kiefer.
Yeah, hey, Coach. This is pretty simplistic, but does your season basically come down to running the ball and stopping the run?
I would say no. Pretty much every interview I gave after the game, I continue to caution people about looking at stats. Stats say what happened in a certain way. We ran the ball decently at the beginning of the game, cracked a couple of runs on that first drive. And Arizona State has a tendency to kind of start in zone, which we knew. And then as the game goes on, they're like 80% man. So it's also a numbers game. And many of you know we do run kills, run, pass, run. And so if we have a single back set, really that means we have five offensive linemen and a tight end to block. That's 6 blockers. And a high percentage of the time they have 7 guys in the box. We're going to check to a pass, in particular with who we have at tight end and receiver. So it's kind of been the same thing for years. we're going to take what the defense gives us, and that's not a negative. I got a quarterback that throws for 350, didn't play great, played well, didn't play great, threw for 350 plus at 200-yard receivers, a receiver and a tight end, because they're playing man and because we attack down the field. So statistically, that's just the way it's going to be. I think what all of us coaches have to deal with, and some of us don't do it in as nice a manner as I am right now, is if we win, then we praise the stats, and if we lose, then we bemoan the stats, right? If we were able to get that field goal at the end of the first half and throw that touchdown at the beginning of the second half, we're starting the fourth quarter down 21-20 with a chance to win. And if we found a way to win, then we'd be praising how well we throw the ball, which happened against USC, right? We beat USC, we threw the ball well, better than we ran it, and it's how great our passing game was. So I always caution everybody from looking at the stats to explain what happened as opposed to watching the game and seeing what happened. Up in our office, so many of you haven't been up there, but in our little lobby area, we have a couple of different, as you say, homages to different people, right? Jim Plunkett, John Elway, Pop Warner, and the one we have of Bill Walsh up there, basically paraphrasing, I can't say it exactly how he said it, but we're not going to adhere or be tied to specific statistics or percentages. That he used the word percentages. So we're always going to do what we think is right, what we think is best for us. And we knew walking into Arizona State with the way that our quarterback was playing, with the way that our receivers are playing, that they're gonna make us throw the ball. And if they're gonna make us throw the ball, then we're gonna take advantage of it. And we took advantage of it to over 350 yards passing. So we thought at some point they may back out and play a little bit more zone and lighten the box a little bit. But that didn't happen, partially because of the score. We were down a score, then we were down 2 scores. So they were going to keep doing what they were doing, which we were getting past the 50. We're making explosive plays and then fumbling around and not scoring points. So we didn't cause them to change what they were doing. Sorry for the long-winded explanation, but I don't believe in saying, okay, now we just have to run the ball. Conversely, on the defensive side, the statistics, I think, are a little bit skewed in that we were down and they were running the ball. They ran it pretty well, but the entire second half, we shut them out and played great on the defensive side, right? Slowed them down, didn't let them get in the end zone, and gave the offense many opportunities, including getting a turnover to give us a chance. But the offense did not take advantage of that. So defensively, it was not a great start defensively. They racked up some yards, but in the second half, defense shut them out. And that's what we need our defense to do. And that's what they did offensively. We just didn't take advantage of it. So the stats are whatever they are. The bottom line for me, the game comes down to taking advantage of situations. And we did not on the offensive side in order to give ourselves a chance to win.
Next, we'll go to Ben Parker.
Yeah, hey, Coach, just want to get your thoughts on Michael Wilson. Just what is kind of be your message to him this year and making sure he kind of stays ready? And then also, too, just how much is that going to help your passing attack to get him back, especially if Tremaine out for however long he's out?
Yeah. I haven't had to say it to Mike because we've all said it to him since last year, patience. And when the time is right, when he's healthy and got all the clearances, we're not going to do it 1 minute until all the clearances come. And he'll be able to come back and rejoin practice. And there's a chance by late in the week that he could start doing some stuff with the offense. He is not playing in this football game. But at the very least, being able to get back out and run some routes in a limited fashion, and then have the entire week next week to continue to build upon that. That would be ideal, is to get him back and have him come back against Washington and start the season, start his season off in that home game. But I think what we miss with Michael Wilson is, he was progressing into one of the best route runners in America. Quick and explosive and 50-50 balls. He's strong. He's a great blocker. And he's a leader, voted a captain. And it's rare that you see a guy who misses most of spring football and all of summer workouts and all of training camp and still gets voted a captain. And he's been great off the field. And now looking forward to seeing his leadership on the field. That's one of those elements that I think we would love to have back, is his ability to beat man coverage and work the middle of the field and work back outside as well as work down the field, because he's an outstanding receiver.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, Coach, if you were going to pick one or two X's and O's things Saturday that you have to do to be successful in the Palouse, what would those one or two X's and O's things be?
It's a great question. Because I'm a head coach, so because my list is long. Hard
Okay,
to
see if
boil
you
it.
can pair it.
Yeah, it's hard. That's hard. Their RPO game is dangerous. A lot of people go RPOs and throw slants, and these guys go RPOs and throw it over your head. Been doing it since he was at Hawaii, and it's impressive. So if you get caught looking back at the run, you don't give up an 8-yard slant, you give up a 40-yard touchdown. So handling their RPO game is going to be huge. Handling their third down pressure. It's a really, really difficult pressure package that they have. And converting on third down, gives an opportunity to have more downs, get more yards, and have a chance to score. But they've done a great job on third down. So if I had to say two, those would be two big ones.
Thank you.
Now go to Scott Reese.
Hey, Coach. Since we haven't updated in a while, you mentioned one of the first, I think, press conferences of the year, Jonathan McGill, maybe mid-season best case scenario. Just wondering if there's any update on him and you might get him back in the near future.
Well, his injury happened weeks after Mike's. So mid-season was probably a bit too optimistic. Maybe by the end of the year, but it's a real maybe.
Got it.
Mike's got a chance in the next couple of weeks. I don't think Jonathan's that close. I know he's running. I know he's moving around, but I don't know if he's close enough to be on the watch yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Troy Clarity.
Yeah, you may have just hinted at this here a couple minutes ago, but everyone talks about, run and shoot and those sorts of things and the stresses it places on the secondary. Well, what sort of stresses does it place on the line and the backers as well when you're facing a scheme like this?
Yeah, it's not just the tempo. It's a lot of spread teams. These guys will spread you wide. They create seams. They make you make decisions, and they want to take advantage of your decisions. So the defense line up front, they have to push. They have to get in the backfield. They have to run the stunts. They have to try to reset the line of scrimmage. The pressure goes on a lot of the linebackers in secondary. Where are your eyes? Because if you're not looking for the run, like I said, these guys are 50-50 run pass on first down, really close, first and second down. So if you're not looking for the run, they just keep running it. And if you lose your pass responsibility looking at the run, then it's the RPO game that kills you. So being able to mix up the coverages, mix up the looks, but at the same time have our guys have their eyes where they're supposed to be and handle their responsibilities is the difference, between being successful against a team like this and not being successful.
One more thing real quick. What do you see when you look at the tape of Max Borghi?
Saw exactly what we saw when he was coming out of high school. Compact, physical, explosive, quick, agile, great hands. I don't think he played last year. I think he opted out, but since he's been in this league, I think he's been one of the more underrated running backs in the entire league. But we all know about him. We've all seen him. I don't think that fans and people talk about him enough. I don't know that he's had the huge numbers this year, but you watch the film and this guy just breaks tackles and he's quick and he's strong and he's a pass protector. I think he's one heck of a complete back.
Now go to Jackson Moore.
Coach, as far as the scores and the win column goes, it seems like something has clicked a little bit for them the last 2 weeks. Is there anything on film that you see that where they made a leap to be where they're at right now currently?
Yeah, I think it's year two, right? And it's not really even year two. It's kind of still technically year one. They played like 4 games last year. So you're getting a chance to see Coach Rolo's influence and his players kind of buying in and knowing what to do. And their first game of the year, they just made a ton of mistakes. They missed a lot of things, a lot of opportunities to score a lot of points that they missed opportunities defensively. They dropped coverage a couple times, which you really haven't seen since then. USC game, they took advantage of a lot of things down the field. We all know 15 is one heck of a receiver. But when you watch this defense in particular, you see them getting better and better and more aggressive and more confident in what they're doing. Because they played against a really good and hot Oregon State team as well. They had a lot of playmakers, and those guys are feeling good. And I think last week's game, Oregon State, Washington State was the underrated bowl. 2 really good teams that nobody really talks about, but us in our conference, we watch this game and say, man, these teams are really good. So they were able to play well, especially in that second half, and put the game away. But I think you're seeing a team that's maturing and really coming together and believing in the schemes that they're running.
We'll go back to Dave Kiefer.
Yeah, Coach, it just seems like this rivalry has always been, at least maybe in the past 10, 15 years, just really tough games every year. It doesn't matter how good you guys have been. There's always seems to be a battle. I can think of the Kevin Hogan game, up there. I don't know, what is it about Washington State and Stanford? It always seems to be a really hard fought game.
I tell you what, I feel like we have a bunch of different rivalries, right? The USC is different than UCLA. The Cal one is special. But I feel like we have a rivalry with the entire Northwest, right? Like everybody in the Northwest, they're tight games, they're physical games. They go down to the fourth quarter. And as you mentioned, Washington State in particular, and they're all crazy. They're all different. We played them on Halloween twice in the middle of the night, played them in the rain and sleet. Played them down here, crazy games that come down to the fourth quarter. But I think what you have, like throughout our conference, you have evenly matched teams that have talent, right? And their last couple quarterbacks were special and broke records and are NFL guys. And we've had a bunch of really good guys that have had big games. So I don't see this as being any different. Thankfully, we're playing earlier, but so we actually get to see the sunshine a little bit during the game. But I think that's going to be the only difference. They're physical up front. They're not big on the defensive line, but they are quick and explosive, and they're playmakers. Offensively, it's an exciting form of offense that, if you slip up, they're going to take advantage of it. I think we're also bringing that to the table too. I think we've got an emerging, star at quarterback and some great weapons to throw the ball to. Running game hasn't been where we would like it to be recently, but we've shown flashes of it early in the season. So hopefully we can have a little bit more balance back there. Austin Jones been back for a couple of weeks. Nate Pete is healthy. Casey Filkins is back, and hopefully we get EJ back soon. And being able to have those 4 guys go out there and do what they do, and hopefully it turns up being a heck of a football game that we somehow find a way to win.
Next question will come from Seibel from the Stanford Daily.
Hi, Coach. In past weeks, you talked a little bit about losses coming because of slow starts and poor execution. Can you talk a little bit about what the team's doing this week in practice, or just talking about mentality-wise in order to start faster and earlier?
Well, honestly, it's really 2 weeks in a row offensively that we did start fast, marched right down the field this past game. Got a touchdown. Then we marched down, got stopped, and we came out again, got a field goal. Our biggest issues on the offensive side right now are, in this past game in particular, just getting to that 50-yard line and having negative plays. And that's a tough thing we have to overcome. And that's really about focus and concentration. We had a couple of penalties, missed opportunities, lost yardage. but at least we've started faster, and that's been a point of emphasis. We've gotten better there. We finished strong, but that middle part where we are shooting ourselves in the foot is really difficult for us to find ways to win against good football teams. On the defensive side, yes, we've given up a lot of yardage running the ball. We're very encouraged about how we played in that second half of really playing good red zone defense and keeping guys out of the end zone, keeping Arizona State out of the end zone that second half, and giving ourselves a chance with a turnover and a couple of midfield stops. So the season is always an evolution of your team growing and getting better in certain areas. And that's what we can hope to continue. And we continue to get to that point where the goal is to play our best game from start to finish, correcting the things that are correctable, continue to stoke and put our personnel in positions for them to be successful in all three phases, and find a way to hopefully in a road game come back and play our best football game from start to finish, minimizing mistakes. Execution and playmaking are the orders.
Do we have any final questions for Coach Shaw? Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you all.